Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to another Friday Facebook Live. I hope everyone had a good week. If you were in the States, I hope you had a good 4th of July weekend and got some time with friends and family. I know we got to spend some time with some friends that we hadn't seen since before COVID-19, so that was great to finally see them again and just relax and catch up and see all their great faces. So I hope you had a chance to do something fun and got to hang out with some people you really care about. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about how to customize your diet. And this is kind of spurred by a question someone asked me. I was chatting with them. They were asking me about the carbohydrates I consume, and they asked me how I came to the conclusion of which ones to include into my diet. Um, and it's a great point because I think a lot of people struggle with figuring out how to know which foods are good for them and right for them and what foods work for them. And it is also kind of similarly, another post I saw someone made about advocating, you know, finding the right foods that work for you. And it's just been a topic that I think has been on my mind a lot lately because there's so much just negativity around the foods that we eat, and people have very strong opinions about what's good for you and what's bad for you. And ultimately, I think that you can, um, take these everyone's advice and input as to what they think is good or bad. Um, you know, there's going to be people that tell you that every kind of food is good for you, and then so it's like impossible to know. Like depending on who you listen to, if you listen to all of them, everything is free game, right? So it's almost kind of pointless to listen to everyone else because they're, depending on who you listen to, what camp you fall into. One person's going to say meat is great for you, another person's going to say meat is terrible for you. One person's going to say vegetables are amazing for you, another person's going to say vegetables are terrible for you. One person's going to say carbs are great, they're fine for you, they're necessary, they're part of life. And the person's going to tell you that that's terrible for you, you're going to die. And some person's going to tell you that having some candy sometimes fine, and another person's going to tell you having some candy sometimes is bad. And so pick your food. You'll find some one person that says, yeah, it's okay to eat, and another person's going to say, nope, here's all the list of reasons why it's not okay. So in general, trying to take someone's advice seems very confusing because who do you know is right? How do you know who's right? And ultimately, I think that what you need to do is listen to everyone's advice, listen to their points, their reasons why they think something might be good or bad, and then try yourself. And when you do it, you need to do it with very mindfully. You need to be mindful when you're consuming these foods that you're trying to decide whether it's good for you or not. And you need to do it with an open mind and in a good spot too, a good place, mindset. Um, so the number one guide that you can use to decide whether a food is great for you or not, or good for you or not, is your body. Listen to what it says. What is it telling you? How do you feel while you're eating it? How do you feel after you're eating it? Lots of people just get caught up in the moment of, when they're consuming the food, it tastes really good. It's great. I love it. And they think it's okay, but then they don't pay attention to what happens in the hours after consuming that food, right? So a good example might be, there's not a single person probably that's going to tell you that having a nice piece of chocolate cake or whatever, some kind of cake that they really love, tastes great in the moment. right? It feels really good. It tastes delicious. It's great. But and then so if you just go by how you feel during the moment, oh, this food's great for me. I feel great eating it. No issues. Um, some people might have issues immediately. Some people might start eating it, and the cake has gluten in it, and they're sensitive to gluten. They might immediately start to have some type of issue with it. But other people, with no sensitivities or anything to food, they eat it in the moment. It tastes really good. They say, okay, well, this food's good for me, but they don't pay attention to how the hours after that affects them, right? So, for example, do you feel really tired after you eat a piece of cake? Do you feel really hungry after you eat a piece of cake, right? Even if you don't know how many calories are in that piece of cake that you just ate, you probably guess it's several hundred. A modest slice of cake, it probably has 500 calories in it, you know. Um, and so, if you consumed 500 calories of chicken breast, would you be just as hungry after that? Maybe not, right? So you're really hungry after that? Do you feel really tired? Um, how's your digestion after that? And do you go to the bathroom right away? So in an hour, is it normal to do that? So we need to pay attention to not only the in the moment consuming the food and how it tastes and how it makes us feel in that moment, but also how does it affect us going forward, right? Maybe you have a piece of cake and you notice that your um, sleep is really disrupted, or maybe you have a piece of cake every night for a month, which is a lot of cake. But say you go through that experiment because nothing feels off. You feel great. You feel fine. You don't feel hungry. You don't feel sleepy. You don't feel nothing more. But you start to notice a scale creeping up. Oh, well, it might not be an immediate effect, but now it's an effect that accumulates over several weeks or a month. Why? Because you're consuming a hefty dose of calories probably in that cake. So maybe having cake every night is not a good thing for you, right? And the same could be said for a whole food, right? You eat a banana. You have a banana for breakfast with your breakfast, right? How do you feel when you eat that banana? How do you feel after that banana? When you have the banana with breakfast versus not having the banana with breakfast, do you feel more hungry after having that breakfast? How was your workout? Is it better, worse, the same? Do you feel more recovered? Do you sleep better? So it's not an easy thing to do, as you can tell, right? It's hard. It's hard to figure it out, to pay attention, to connect something that might have happened when you ate a food, 3 hours ago. You might have completely forgot that you ate it, but now you're having this weird side effects. You have to think back to what it was, what did you consume, everything in play, right? For example, I gave my daughter, we got some new bars. I'm not going to say the name brand of the bar that we got because it didn't actually end up being a very good experience, but we got these new bars. And I asked my daughter if she'd like it, try one, and she said yes, so I gave her half, and she tried it, and she had terrible GI issues for the next 24 hours from that. And there happened to be something in that bar that, was upset her stomach. And I obviously she's too young. She's only 7. She's too young to kind of make that connection, right? And when she first woke up in the middle of the night, going to the bathroom, and woke me up, and I asked her what was wrong. She said I had to go to the bathroom, and she said I've already gone to the bathroom 3 times, and I said okay, well that's weird. Thought maybe she just had a stomach bug, whatever, something fluky. But then I realized, oh, I gave her half of that bar before we went to bed last night. I bet that was it. And sure enough, of the ingredients, and there were some ingredients in there that can certainly cause some GI issues in people, and that she's never had before. So I was like, that's probably it, right? So, It just shows you that you have to pay attention, and you have to consider not only in the moment feelings, but also feelings after the next day and even a few weeks down the line. And it takes a little bit of work, it takes a little effort, but as long as you're mindful about it, and patient, you can get there, right? People want to know. I want to know what foods work for me immediately, right? And like I said, there are some immediate things you can get for feedback. Pretty immediate. Like, how do you feel while you're eating it? What is if you really want to get super nerdy about it, and you're eating some type of carbohydrate or food that has carbohydrate in it, what is your blood sugar reaction to that food, right? You can prick yourself with a blood glucose monitor to see what that happens, or if you have a CGM on, you could see it in real time, right? So you can get super nerdy about it. You can get some instant feedback. You can get some valuable feedback, but it's all optional, right? You don't need to do that. You just need to pay attention when you try a food. How does it work for you, both from a taste, from a digestion, from sleep, from a recovery, from a workout, from a mental perspective, from you know a cognitive perspective, right? Everything. You need to consider everything, right? And then that's how you decide, right? If anything seems off, well, it could be that food, could be something else, could be a complete fluke. So you gotta try it again, right? And it takes time to go through this and to figure out what things are going to work for you. Um, and eventually you come to a list, right? And you may say, great, I get to my list of foods that work for me. I know these are the foods that I stick towards, and if I deviate from this, it might be okay, might not be okay. But unfortunately, it's not set in stone either. So it's a practice. It's this mindfulness that you have around things you eat and how you feel and how you recover needs to be a practice, because as your life changes, your body changes, your circumstances change. Foods that were once good for you may not be good for you anymore. If you're a very active person, an athlete, you're working out 6 times a week, and all of a sudden life circumstances change and you're very sedentary and you're working out 2 times a week, maybe you don't need as many carbohydrates as you once were eating. Maybe you don't need as many calories as you once were eating. And you need to cut back and change things and take things out of the list and swap other foods in and switch things up, right? And so it's a ever-going, ever-evolving process, and it's something that never stops. And I think it's once you come to that realization that there is no end goal here, there is no set food list that's going to work for you for a lifetime, that this is a practice you need to employ for the rest of your life, and accept that fact, you come peace with it, and it just becomes a habit. And you just you change with the times, you change with your life, you change with your schedule, you change with the way what your body's telling you. You become more connected with it, and that's the end goal here. So I hope you found that useful. I hope it makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, please let me know. Leave a comment, and shoot me a message, email or direct message on Facebook or Instagram, or whatever. However you want to reach out and talk to me more about it, I'd love to converse with people about it. I find it very interesting. And one of the challenging things that I have to do as a health coach is trying to get people to realize that I can't tell you what foods are going to work for you. You need to find that out for yourself. I can give you suggestions. I can tell you how to, what things to look for, but I can't tell you whether a banana is going to be good for you or not, or if you can eat oatmeal or not, or if a fatty cut of piece of meat is better for you than a piece of salmon. I don't know. You have to tell me. We have to try it out. We have to experiment. We have to try several times, and under different circumstances, etc., can all impact these things. So it's a never-ending journey. So as always, if you want to get all of my content delivered to you on a weekly basis, and you don't want to stalk me on social media, which I don't expect you want to do, you can go to my homepage at rjbhealth.coach and sign up for the newsletter. Right at the top, there's a button for a newsletter. Enter your email address, and you'll be signed up for the newsletter, which I send out a couple times a week to my list, and with my blog posts and just random thoughts and these videos and stuff like that. So please do that. And if you're interested in health coaching, you can jump on the waiting list by going to my homepage and clicking schedule a discovery call link right at the top, and fill out the form, and you'll be signed up for the waiting list to talk about doing some health coaching when some spots open up. So with that, I hope everyone has a good weekend. Do something fun. Try a new food. See how you like it. Let me know. And I'll talk to you all next week.